Aaron Spencer lives in Lone Oak County, Arkansas. This case actually starts June-ish of 2024 when his daughter confided in him that an older gentleman had been inappropriate with her. We'll put it that way. Aaron Spencer's daughter at the time was 13. The older gentleman was Michael Fosler, 67 years old, former law enforcement in Indiana State. So they go to law enforcement after his daughter confides in him about what's been going on. They go before the grand jury, and the grand jury indicts Michael Fosler on 43 charges of inappropriate contact with the 13-year-old. Imagine your worst fears as a parent, and that's what's in his indictment. That's what he was charged with. 43 felonies, and for that, he was given a bond of $50,000. So let that sink in. Sometimes $50,000 bond is literally one felony, and he was charged with 43. You put up 10% of the bond, he gets out for $5,000. He has no conditions except one: no contact with the Spencer family. Aaron Spencer doesn't seek any kind of retribution, doesn't go after him when he's arrested, doesn't go after him when he posts bond. And later that year in October, Aaron wakes up at 1 o'clock in the morning. I believe it was October 8th. Wakes up to his dog barking. He goes into his daughter's room after hearing his dog barking, and his daughter's gone. So they start calling family. Is she here? Is she there? She had cousins that she hung out with. Nobody knows where she is. They call 911. And while his wife is on the phone with 911, Aaron grabs his truck keys and leaves. And he's off to find his daughter. Mom is on the phone with 911. Aaron leaves in his truck to go find his daughter. And by the grace of God, he finds Fosler's truck. And in the front seat of Fosler's truck is his 13-year-old daughter. Let me just stop there and put this in perspective. He was just indicted by a grand jury of 43 felony charges. That's in June. So we're talking about 5 months later. Aaron finds his 13-year-old daughter 1 o'clock in the morning, taken from his house in the truck of the 67-year-old man who is alleged to have done 43 felonies to his daughter. Let me add to that, she's the star witness against him in those 43 felonies. And she's now at 1 a.m. in a truck with Michael Fosler. Aaron follows the truck, flashes his lights at him, honks his horn at him, won't pull over. Continues to follow the truck and runs Fosler's truck into a ditch. Aaron gets out of his truck with his pew-pew and tells Fosler, get out of the truck, lay down in the grass. So let me stop there and just tell you guys the restraint that Aaron Spencer has. I don't even know that I have that when it comes to my daughter. He doesn't go after him when his daughter confides in him about what's been going on. He doesn't go after him when the grand jury finds 43 felony charges of an indictment. He doesn't go after him when he's left out on bond. He only goes after him when this man takes his daughter at 1 a.m. from his house and he finds him in his truck. And even then, he doesn't go after him. He pit maneuvers him into a ditch and then tells him, get out, get on the ground. He's still not going after him, right? He didn't walk up to the truck and start beating the crap out of him. He said, get out of the truck and get on the ground. Instead, Michael Fosler grabs the 13-year-old, leaves the truck, and charges at Aaron Spencer. Aaron Spencer has his pew-pew in his hand, and he unalives Michael Fosler right there. And then there is some allegation that he then went and punched him with the pew-pew and then called 911 and said, I have him right here. And he waits for the police to show up. They ask him questions and they take him into custody. Put him in the back of the car. They get him out once to switch cars, and then they put him back in another car, take him to the jail. When they get out of the jail, they allege that there is drug paraphernalia in the back of the car and that it came from him. He says, test me right here, take my blood, test me. There's no way that's mine. I don't do that stuff. That's not mine. That is now a pretrial motion to be thrown out. Any reference to that at all. They book him on second-degree murder charges with a firearm enhancement. And what that means is if he's convicted of second-degree murder, that firearm enhancement, because that's what he used in the commission of that alleged crime, adds 15 years to his sentence. Aaron has filed that he is going to assert the self-defense argument, or the defense of self-defense that is available to him in Arkansas. They arrest Aaron, they make a statement, and then the judge slaps the most restrictive gag order I have ever seen in my life on this case. The gag order is so extreme that them going to court violates the gag order. Them talking to a clerk about filing something violates the gag order. Anybody in the courthouse talking about the Aaron Spencer case violates the gag order. So let me tell you what that looks like from a legal professional's point of view. If I walk into a clerk's office and I say, I need to make a filing, and they say, what case is it? And I say, it's Smith versus Smith. And I just violated a gag order by talking to the clerk about this Smith versus Smith case. That has potential contempt of court violation for me and the clerk. But I'm just trying to make a filing in the court. How does the attorney talk to the DA about the case without violating the gag order? Aaron's attorney, to his expense, files a motion to vacate the gag order, because the gag order is written in the verbiage that we're doing this to protect him, to protect future jurors from possible bias, from being excluded from jury service on this. It's all written that, oh, we're protecting the defendant, but the defendant can't talk about it. He can't go on the news and talk about it. His family can't talk about it. Nobody can talk about this. The judge refuses to do that. They go up to the Arkansas Supreme Court. They have a verbal argument in front of this Arkansas Supreme Court. The Arkansas Supreme Court vacates the gag order, but that's not till March. And we all know how the media stream works, right? 48 hours, maybe sometimes a week. Aaron was arrested in October, and it's now March. None of the media want to talk about it, right? That's old news. He was arrested that long ago, and they don't care about the gag order. So that's where we come in. And when I say we, I mean the social media creators who have tried to keep this into the limelight, put it into the limelight. This is my pleasure to cover this, because this is a huge miscarriage of justice. Aaron's attorneys have also filed a motion to dismiss based upon violation of his Fifth Amendment rights to the United States Constitution, because his charges were brought by information and not by a grand jury. The Fifth Amendment to the United States Constitution states that felony charges are to be brought by a grand jury of citizens after reviewing evidence presented by the prosecution. The Arkansas State Constitution in 1936 had an amendment that allows district attorneys to bypass that in the interest of time, judicial resources maybe, but they're allowed to bypass that by bringing in information. And that is how Aaron is charged. So take a step back real quick with me and remember that Michael Fosler, who is an ex-law enforcement officer from Indiana State, was charged via indictment through a grand jury, right? So the DA knows how to use it when he wants to. He'll take that case before a grand jury, present it, and the grand jury comes back with 43 felonies. Aaron Spencer, he decides to bypass the grand jury and simply charge him by information. Now, he is home on bond. He's home with his family. They are, working with their daughter to get her the counseling and everything that she needs. So he is home, but he's still facing these charges. He's still facing an uphill battle. He's still facing all these legal fees. They filed this motion to dismiss within the last, I want to say, like 2 or 3 weeks. We're waiting for the state's response to that. My question is, should the state of Arkansas be able to override a right that citizens are afforded in the United States Constitution? So that's where we are with Aaron Spencer. There is a petition. You'll be able to sign the petition for those charges to be dropped. Right now, that motion to dismiss is pending. Aaron fought for our freedoms, right? And now I feel it's only appropriate that we fight for his. So every time that I can put his name out there and get a little bit of awareness into this case, I absolutely will do that. That is the Aaron Spencer case as we know it right now.